Yeah, literally, not in the
See you later then in the press room. To put it in another way, to prevent war, we must spend more. The UK understands this instinctively. You have long met the 2% target, and I welcome plans to further increase investments in defence. Because in a more dangerous world, 2% will not be enough to keep us safe. We need to invest considerably more. We also need to replenish our stocks, and fast. There's no time to waste. Reviving our defence industries to ramp up defence production is an absolute must.
We are all working to end this war. But let's be absolutely clear. Peace will come through strength. And we must do all that we can to support Ukraine's defence. And that means stabilising the front line, providing the kit and training that they need. And that's why this year the UK will give more military support to Ukraine than ever before. Across Europe, we must shoulder more of the burden now, because it's our burden to carry. Now, that's what I'll be discussing at the EU Council this evening. We want to deliver an ambitious UK-EU security partnership to bolster NATO, covering military technology and R&D, improving the mobility of forces across Europe, protecting our critical infrastructure, and deepening our industrial collaboration to increase defence production.
We can deal with these issues, and there are always issues between allies. It is never always tranquil and happy-going. There are always issues, sometimes bigger, sometimes smaller. But I'm absolutely convinced that will not get in the way of our collective determination to keep our deterrence strong. And when you talk trade, it is interesting to see that the trade surplus of the US getting into Europe is since 2022. They sell more to Europe than we sell to them. And the net surplus is $180 billion since 2022. So that tells you something, that there are more figures and numbers to look at. But going back to your question, I'm absolutely convinced it will not have an impact on our collective deterrence.
On the question, firstly, of tariffs, obviously it's early days, and I think what's really important is open and strong trading relations, and that's been the basis of my discussions with President Trump. And I know that intense US-EU discussions are planned. In relation to the issue that you link it to of Ukraine, I do think it's right for us to acknowledge the role that the US have played in relation to the joint effort on Ukraine. And that's, of course, pivotal because it's not just a question of a war or the sovereignty of Ukraine. It is not just a European issue. It's a question of global security. And I think it's very important that we see it in that context.
What I think is very useful is that President Trump alerted us to the fact that when it comes to the High North, there is a geopolitical and strategic issue at stake. I would say that it's not only about Greenland. This has to do with Finland, it has to do with Sweden, Norway, Iceland, yes, Greenland, and therefore Denmark, also Canada and also the US. And clearly, collectively, as an alliance, we will always look at the best way to make sure that we can tackle those challenges. This is a geopolitical thing playing out at the moment with Ukraine, and therefore Ukraine must prevail not only for Ukraine's sake, first of all, but also because of the geopolitical impact. And for NATO as a whole, collectively, we are 20 times bigger than the Russian economy. Collectively, we are able to protect the collective NATO territory, including the US. And the US is also under threat now with the long-range nuclear long-range missiles coming out of North Korea maybe in the future, thanks to all the technology the Russians are delivering. So for so many reasons, we have to stay connected. I'm a staunch transatlanticist. I absolutely believe that the best thing the West can do is to stay united. And I know that the same thinking is still prevalent in the US, including in the White House.
It's important that we work with both sets of partners, particularly this volatile time. where I think it's generally accepted and rightly accepted that we face a more volatile world now than we have done for many decades. So now is the time to step up on all fronts with both the US and the EU. It is not the time to pull back on either front.